Michael,
Yes.
I lost my note from Terry, but was Joel going to be present today?
I don't believe that he will be here today.
I thought he.
I couldn't remember, and I can't find the note.
I think Terry said that he was going to be here, but I'm not sure.
Okay, well, let's give him a couple minutes and we'll start. Oh, go ahead.
Tuesday we'll have Ricky, Andrew, Jan, and Joel.
Okay.
Because I can only stay for an hour and a half.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
I'm hoping that we can wrap this up before then. And just for Michael and Ricky, in case you didn't know, Andrew was going to chair, but he's got a head cold and can participate, but doesn't feel up for chairing. So I agreed to chair, and Terry's aware of this.
Okay, thank you for that. And maybe because Ricky is going to leave in 1.5 hours,
We should start.
Yeah.
It's not actually up for any action today. We can start the discussion today, and then at any point that you choose to end
Okay,
we can end it and continue the next time.
okay,
Terry was aware of that, discussed that with Terry.
got it. Okay, thanks very much. Well, especially given Ricky's schedule, maybe we should just go ahead and start, and the uncertainty with Joel, and we'll just see if he shows up.
Yeah, if he shows up,
okay?
fine. We have at least a quorum.
We have a quorum, so okay.
Yeah, so
Okay. A call to order the Plans Review Subcommittee meeting of December 10th, 2024. And I'll take roll. Jan Mulder is here. Ricky Riojas.
Here.
Andrew Christopher.
Here.
Joel Ireland is not with us yet, and Terry Majewski is absent today. So we'll move on to item 2, the LAR review and approval of the LAR for November 14th. Is there a motion to approve?
This is Ricky. I motion to approve, and Joel just joined.
I see that. Okay.
Well, I guess I'm here. Yeah.
There you are. Are you here?
Yeah, I'm good, I think. Well, let's
Okay,
see.
great. Just got Joel showing up. Joel, we're reviewing, we're taking a vote on the approval of the LAR for the 14th of November.
Okay, I'm sorry. I had trouble getting into the meeting for some reason. I don't know why, but can you hear me?
Yeah, you're here now. So Ricky voted, it moved to approve, right, the LAR.
Yes.
Andrew?
Oh, yeah, I'll second.
Oh, sorry. A little out of order here. Okay, so Ricky moved, Andrew second, Joel?
Yes.
And Jan votes aye, so that's 4-0 on the LAR. Thank you. So moving on to, I guess we have our official reconsideration of hybrid meeting. We discussed it at our last meeting, but it wasn't agendized. Are we going to just pass on that?
yeah, we agendized today. I think you might let's take this vote when Terry will be in.
Okay, it seemed like we had a pretty full discussion and we're ready to vote, but because it wasn't agendized, we didn't.
It's agendized today. If you want to take action, that's fine.
I think if the others are comfortable, it seemed from what I recall from our last discussion, and people can say if they disagree, but that we were leaning toward reverting to virtual meetings with the understanding that we would go back to hybrid as warranted.
That's correct from what I understand.
Yep, that was a discussion, Madam Chair.
Yeah.
We did have that question about if we have to vote every single meeting on having a hybrid. Michael, did we ever get any clarification on that?
No, if you vote today that you want to go back to virtual, and then if you want a hybrid, it will be the staff will be informed in advance and we will agendize it as such.
So we
Okay.
just, for the upcoming meeting, we just say that it's going to be hybrid versus virtual. So I think we're covered.
Yep.
Okay, okay. Andrew, is that okay
Yeah.
with you in terms
Yeah.
of both
Mhm.
prior discussions and what you're comfortable with?
Yeah, I'm on board.
And Joel?
Yes.
Okay, okay. So I guess we actually need a
call.
motion from someone and a vote then on returning to virtual meetings unless we determine it's warranted, and then we'll agendize a hybrid meeting for an upcoming meeting.
This is Ricky, a motion that the Plans Review Subcommittee return to an online only format unless it's necessary to have a hybrid, and then we'll do so accordingly in the proper timeline.
This is Andrew, I'll second.
Thank you. Vote Ricky,
Aye.
Andrew,
Aye.
Joel,
Yes.
and Jan votes aye. Passes 4-0. Sorry, I'm just scribbling here. Okay, moving on to item 4, historic preservation zone review cases, UDC 5.8 and TSM 9-02-0.0 historic district guidelines. We are today reviewing the West University Historic Preservation Zone Design Guidelines. And this is a review of their proposed revisions to their guidelines. And this is for discussion only today, is my understanding. And we will get as far as we can and then continue at a subsequent meeting if needed. And Michael, do you want to say anything before Richard and Jim present?
Yeah, no, Madam Chair, the West University, they have worked on this for quite some time. They went through many iterations on this proposal, and what they are presenting to you today appears to be their own final version. There was a first copy that was sent out with a lot of comments that you saw a lot of their comments involved. Eventually, by yesterday, they sent in a PDF copy that streamlined most of the comments to, you just see the red items and the things that they need your input on. And today, they have the chair, Rick, and they also have a member, Jim, who are here to present it to you and answer any questions that you may have. The idea is that you will go as far as you can go today. We foresee this as having a couple of discussions. That is why it was not agendized as an actionable item today. So wherever you get to and stop there, when we do put it on the agenda, we can take off from there. So this is all I need to say. And then I'm sorry that we sent the more streamlined version to you that late yesterday, because that was the earliest. As soon as it got it to me, I posted it and having it today. So my apology for it coming late. But Jim and Rick are here to discuss any items that you may have.
And the one other thing I just wanted to add was we received a fairly limited comments from Terry, and so I'll try and bring those up as we go along too, to make sure those are included in the record.
Sure. So it's up to you, however the format you want to do, Madam Chair, it's up to you. So for West University, Jim, is it Jim or Rick, who is going to share their screen to move this along?
I can do it, or Jim can do it.
I'm prepared to do it. I have 2 screens, and so it's pretty easy for me
Easier
to
for
do
you.
that. So
Yep.
if
Okay.
I can have permissions to do so, I'll.
That's what I'm doing now, Jim. I'm making
Thank
you
you.
a co-host so you can share your screen.
Very good.
So while Jim's pulling that up, and echo with Michael. I know there's a little bit of confusion over the different versions that got sent out to you guys for review. I apologize for that. We had a working copy that had all comments, unincorporated, incorporated, and whatnot. And I think that's what got sent to you guys. What Jim, I believe, is bringing up right now is the version that just has the incorporated comments in them, and they're highlighted in the text. Couple of things. This is really not a very extensive rewrite of the guidelines. It's, I would consider to be a cleanup of sorts, but it's one that's been kind of long overdue. It is also only the text. We decided to get this in front of you guys, the text, before we spent a lot of time on formatting. This document is going to need some reformatting, new drawings, other things like that, which, you know, we'll take responsibility for once we're all content with the you know, the actual meat of the language of the document. So right now you may see figures and or organization of the way that the paragraphs are done that's maybe a little chunky, but we're really planning on cleaning that up in the spring once we've gotten through approval of the body of the text. And even though this is a 65-page document, you know, and I was looking at it, getting ready for this meeting, we've only made changes on about 25 pages, and most of them are pretty simple. So we'll see how quickly we get through this. And I guess, Jan, Madam Chairman, how much time do you want to allocate so that I can kind of pace myself?
Well, I think because Ricky has to leave it at 1:30, let's see how far we can get by then.
Okay.
And we'll either decide whether to keep going without her, but my initial thought is to, especially if we're going to have another meeting follow on, that we just break it there. But
Okay.
I think we can go pretty quickly, but that's me.
Just to clarify, Ricky's out is at 2:30, I think.
Oh, yeah, excuse me. Yes.
2:30?
Yes. Yeah. Sorry about that.
Okay. I can probably, I've got a hard stop too, but I could probably go to 2:15.
Okay, well, we'll do what we can do. I've got things,
Okay.
you know, we've all got things, so especially if you're already coming back, I'm less concerned.
Right. Okay. So what I'm going to ask Jim to do is skip to the pages that actually have edits on them. I know, Jan, you said that you had some comments from Terry. If I skip over a page that she made a comment on, of course, we can quickly double back. But barring that, let's go to page 8.
And she had a short one there. I had one, and maybe this falls right on 7.
Okay, go ahead.
And that probably goes to your formatting. I noticed there was kind of a font change and a format change, and I wasn't sure what that was about, but that may just be a factor of you're still working through it.
Yeah, it actually is a factor of this document has been created and updated over time using a lot of different technologies that none of us use anymore.
And that's fine. That was my only question. So yeah, 8 was the first time that Terry had a comment.
Yeah, we're going to get the fonts consistent. We're going to turn it into portrait mode. It's currently printed in landscape mode, and then some of the figures are going to get cleaned up. Okay, so to page 8 then, Jim.
Are people able to see this on, my things are behaving a little wonky for me.
I'm able to see it.
And I guess I just asked the other commissioners to, you know, speak up in terms of which pages as we go through also.
Yeah, I'm gonna have Jim skip ahead, and if I skip a page you guys care about, then certainly ask us to double back. No problem.
So are folks able to see the screen?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and is
Yeah,
this,
okay.
are you on page 8 then?
Yes.
Yes, I am. I'm trying to figure out. I've got a new PDF reader. I'm really unhappy with Adobe lately, so I tried to use one of the other PDF ones, and it's giving me some fits. So anyway,
I think Terry's only comment was that she added a comment after guidelines. So
After the word guidelines on this page?
Yes, let's see. Yes, any property within the HPZ is subject to these guidelines, comma. Am I looking at the right page 8?
Oh yeah, and changes, comma, and changes to all HPZ properties are subject to historical review.
In the red paragraph, yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. So Jan, if you could tell me exactly what she said again, so I can make.
She just added a comment on that last sentence in your red additional paragraph.
Mhm.
Right after any property within the HPZ is subject to these guidelines, comma. That's,
Oh, got it.
yeah, just a small edit.
All right. Right, I've got that. So as you can see, I mean, all we're doing is doing some language
Right.
cleanup. We are going to update that figure. It is it's out of date. I shouldn't say very out of date, but out of date. And other than that, it's just textual cleanup.
Okay.
All right. If there are no other questions or comments, we'll move on to page 9.
I
This
have a
paragraph-
question in the red paragraph. I'm not, can you go back to the page 8? quickly?
Sure.
Yeah. That red paragraph, yeah. So I wasn't clear, and it may be technical, and I'm not a technical person, but just before the red paragraph, the sentence, there's a sentence that begins, this update, and then some words are scratched out. The words scratched out are does not reinvent the wheel, but oh, the word is borrows as needed from the
Correct.
original language. Okay, I read it wrong.
So
Thank
the
you.
scratched out stuff was a bunch of superfluous
Yeah.
words that made that sentence harder to read, and we just
Yeah.
scratched them out.
Okay, I'm satisfied. I frankly, I can't see it, so I
Oh,
thought it said burrows, not borrows. Sorry.
no, borrows.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Okay, sure.
Sorry about that.
Right. Back to page 9. Oop. This parenthetical paragraph was added just as a reminder that we are, in some cases, echoing or editorial or reflecting a little bit of the UDC in the document. We had debated amongst ourselves about taking the code out and always just referring to the code paragraphs, but it made it very hard to read. So this is why it's in here. Okay, I believe the next one is page 12. This is just a English language thing, guest houses making it 2 words instead of 1 word.
This is Jan. I noticed somewhere later, it's older text, you have it as 1 word, so
Oh, if
it's just part of your edit. I think
Okay.
we get there, I'll see it. It's the section where you talk about guest houses. Something else there, but just FYI.
Okay, yeah, we were trying to purge that out. If we missed it, I'm happy to fix it. Okay, I believe we go to page 17. Again, these are just making it more correct English. I'm sure those of you that have looked at this document in the past, or maybe even recently, know that the first 24 or 5 pages are context. So really, we didn't do much to this except just make it a little more readable. Page 24, I believe, is the next one.
This is Andrew. I actually had something on page 11, or it bleeds from 10 to 11.
Okay, let's go back to that, Jim.
Sorry.
No worries.
It's the last paragraph on 10. Let me see. Yeah, last paragraph on 10 that bleeds to 11. I think it's a little confusing. It says, in the 1890s, existing Sonoran style houses were transformed by additions of American styles of architectural details. That sentence, I'm a little unclear. Maybe it means it was transformed by additions or the addition of American architectural details. I don't know. It just reads funny to me. Maybe I'm just,
Andrew, you're talking about page 10 is where that starts?
yeah, I think so.
That's
You've
a
got page
different
10 up.
numbering.
Okay. Let me figure this out. I'm looking at the copy I marked up, which may be a little different. It's like section 3, development of the neighborhood historic overview.
Mm-hmm.
And then the paragraph starts with the first house was built in what was to become the West University neighborhood.
Okay.
Third-
In
the
1870.
Oh,
third
there we are.
paragraph.
Okay. All right. So it's on the same page here. Okay. So yeah, in like the middle of that paragraph, in the 1890s, existing Sonoran style houses were transformed by additions of American styles of architectural details.
Okay, I see where you are.
Yeah, I think maybe it's meant to be like transformed by additions or by the application of American style architectural details.
I think it's by application. I think that second way you said it is correct. Okay, so Sonoran style houses were transformed by application of American styles instead of addition of American styles,
Shouldn't it be by the application?
or the application. Yes, thank you.
Sorry, if we're getting nitty picky about English.
No, it makes
It's okay.
sense.
Let me just, the application versus addition. And it's paragraph 3. Okay, that's fine. We got, you guys can imagine as our board went through this over many months, we got pretty picky amongst ourselves too. So that's okay. All right, Andrew, does that cover it for you?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, I've got it. All right, back to 17, I think is the next page I've got. Oh no, we already did this. 24. Again, just making it a little bit less backwards of a sentence. All right. Page 26. The first sentence in red there we added because there is occasionally confusion or poor assumptions on the part of people who live in the HPZ that if they don't have an historic home that they're not subject to any of these reviews. So this is just clarifying that. All right, 28, which I noticed when I was screening this has an error. So at the top, that paragraph underlined in red, do we want to say anything about components like retaining walls? That really wasn't intended to be in the final edit. So I apologize, we'll get that out.
Were you guys intending to add something in there about the retaining walls? Because I saw there was a mention of it in the fence
You
section if
could,
you're adding new
yeah.
fences.
Yeah,
But
right. So I think we left it at that in that section.
Yeah, I
I
saw
think it
Yeah,
would be
go ahead.
nice to have something called out about the retaining walls other than in the fences so that folks who have them, even if they're not building a fence, are just okay with their retaining wall. They
'Cause I know we've
recognize.
seen people just remove those, or even like the little curb walls or whatever you call it, mini walls.
Yeah.
That it would be nice to acknowledge them, because I know in several districts, they kind of do this, define the streetscape, and even if someone doesn't have a fence there or doesn't put a fence in, it'd be nice to see some acknowledgement of those as part of the historic context.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, I've got making a note here. So I think what we'll do, and I'll, when I make changes subsequent to this meeting, like this one, I will separately figure out a way to get that information to you so you can see the text that I'm proposing. But I think we generally in the board meetings have considered any of those walls, if they go back to the period of significance, to be something that's subject to the review, whether it's a minor review or a major review.
I think the main thing was just and not, I mean, being clear about your intent, but in terms of the guidance being provided to others, that somewhere it communicates that to the outside world.
Well, I think too, because in the fences section, it talks about how you should like essentially pay respect to the retaining wall that you have by building your fence behind it. But if that's not actually a consideration that the board is making for those retaining walls, then why is it in there?
I think a lot of times the fences are built behind them, but sometimes they're incorporated into them. So that's a good point, Ricky. Okay, I've got this captured for that paragraph.
I have a comment to make here though.
Yeah.
So on this one that you have up here to begin pre-submitted, so you have a phone number here. I will encourage that for the city, because this number here probably was Jody's number. So when you put a staff number, we change all the time. We're generally now, for most of the inquiries, we're using PDSD historic at tucsonaz.gov. So all the inquiries go there, and then they will send it to us. They will send it to the Historic Preservation Office. The danger of using a phone number is we do not have this one phone number for the Historic Preservation Office. So
Yeah, I think as you said, this comment probably goes back to when Jody was, this goes back a while. So where do you, so it sounds like even that web address probably isn't the right one to use anymore, right, Michael? You want to go to the
it's no
PDS?
longer the correct one. I will provide the correct this thing to you.
Okay.
So I suggest we take out the phone number and use the website that we'll be using for all historic inquiries, because it will be sent to the Historic Preservation Office anyway, so that whoever is there can always help.
So we
All right.
can't use 311 perhaps?
Huh?
The city's general inquiry number, 311. I think there are some folks that would still like to be able to call and talk to somebody as opposed
then
to
in that case,
having to use an email. So I
okay,
was
in that
suggesting
case,
let me finish, please. And so I'll, 311 is what I've been hearing from all staff members, from council offices, as the general number to call for non-emergency inquiries. So, and that seems like it will last the test of time.
And doesn't 311, like, isn't their whole purpose just to reroute to whatever the current number is for the HPO?
Oh, okay. I was not aware of that. I was going to say Planning and Development Services has a general information number, which is 520-791-5550. That is a general information number for the
Works for
Planning
me.
and Development Services. if they prefer a phone number. If the 311 works, that's fine. I'm not aware of it, but if it works, that's fine. If not, our general information number is 520-791-5550.
Okay, we can put both.
Yeah, I
Either-
think
Yeah.
the general PDSD info line is probably more direct. My experience of 311 is it takes a while sometimes to get a response, and it's a little cumbersome. So
I agree,
Yeah.
having done it yesterday.
All right, well, we can do that. But we can put both in. I don't see an issue with that. And Michael, you're gonna send me the correct
Yeah,
address.
sure.
Okay, thank you. 29.
Michael,
Oh.
is the city done redoing the website?
No, it's a work in progress, Ricky. They keep updating as they get more feedback from citizens, so they're not yet done. It's a work in progress.
My only thing about a link, is that the city's gonna keep changing their links. Like if we could direct them to specifically go to the City of Tucson, like HPZ website or something, and then they could Google that and get the current link so that if you do include a link in here and it doesn't work, that they still have a method for trying to find the correct link.
yeah, I would agree, Ricky. I end up Googling most city stuff anyway because the links that I bookmark tend to
Mhm.
not work after a certain point.
I can provide a link to Rick and Jim for the historic preservation. They have a link for the historic preservation. When you go there, it has all the information on historic preservation. If that will help.
Yeah, I think anything that gets the people that are trying to do this in, some information on what's in the checklists and things like that is helpful.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
This Joel, could I ask a question again about just meaning in the red paragraph, last paragraph on page 29? Is that where we are, by the
Yeah.
way? Yeah.
Yes.
Says checklist is at https://www.tucsonaz.gov/preservation/HBZ. But this is where I'm getting to. But the link to the application itself is dead on the city's website. What does that mean, is dead?
At the time this work was being done, the city was moving to I apologize, I forgot the new portal that they have, what it's called, but so the application was no longer available from the HPZ, but the checklist was still there. So I don't know, Michael, this is another case where, I think what you're saying is you're going to give me the appropriate link that exists today for people to go find the checklist.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, I mean, I get that, because I'm kind of reading this from well, I am an amateur, I'm a complete amateur, and I'm trying to read it from the point of view of somebody who's coming in to say, doesn't know this, doesn't do this professionally, and is saying, okay, what are the steps I have to take?
Yeah.
And I just want to make sure that those steps are kind of clearly marked out. So when I go through this again for our final consideration, I mean, that's what I'm going to be looking at. So
Right.
thank you for the explanation, and maybe we can look at
Yeah,
that.
I think what we're all kind of realizing, or I'm realizing, is that a lot of these edits were done long before the new
Hmm.
portal became viable. And I think
Right.
many of us know it was kind of bumpy starting, and we were trying to at least point people to these checklists and things like that, which we
Gotcha.
want to replicate in the document.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and I appreciate that. I know how hard you guys have worked, and I appreciate it. Again, it's just a comment about
No, it's valid. It's valid. So
a
Michael's
bell
going to
like
send
me
us
trying
the.
to figure their way through. Somebody who doesn't want to hire, architect, but just wants to go do the little thing, and so just ease of use, friendly, user friendly, I think they used to say, or something. So I
Right.
appreciate you guys' work, and it's just a comment from that point of view. That's all.
Perfect. Okay, I think we'll
Thank
get
you.
this cleaned up now that everything, those portals are now operational. Okay, the next one I have is
I have
page
an
20.
unrelated, just question / comment on 29, and it has to do with the note about minor reviews. I know Terry had some repeated questions where the previous references to minor reviews were deleted. And I think I understand why that was done, and maybe that wraps up to this note where you just dispense with the mention of minor reviews. But my question is whether I didn't realize, and that may be my ignorance, that is it really that cut and dried that minor reviews are, that's the criterion for minor reviews, not requiring a building permit?
Mm,
Um,
No, that wasn't intended to mean that. It is true that for things that don't normally require a building permit, you may be subject to a minor review, but there are, Michael knows better than me, that the PDSD makes a determination as to what to
Right.
kick to a minor review or not.
So I just was kind of wondering about that, and I'm not sure whether elsewhere you've been explicit about whether or not, I mean, and this is, I think, part of what we run into with work that's done without review, somewhere being explicit whether or not a project requires a building permit. It still is, if it meets your criterion that you've laid out, it's still subject to historic review, which may be major or minor review. Something that's a little more, and you may have wrapped that in somewhere else and I just didn't catch it.
It is wrapped in earlier in the document, Jan.
Okay.
And it goes back, I think I made mention of the confusion that exists sometime where folks think that because they don't have historic property, they're not subject to any of these.
Right.
It's in that area
Okay.
where there's a
Okay.
delineation, and it says that the same sort of thing, PDSD staff will determine what is or isn't a major or minor review.
Okay.
So, Rick, maybe I guess I have a question. Is the message we want to convey here that a minor review may be required for projects not requiring a building permit? Or is there a
true.
different message?
Well, but I mean, there may be projects not requiring a building permit that still go through full review. I mean, it really does depend. So it seems like you're acknowledging the possibility that there might be a lesser review for some projects not requiring a building permit. But I'm not sure. To me, I'm not sure that
see.
provides
Okay.
clarity.
Got it. I see.
I do think it would be good just to acknowledge that minor reviews exist. I
Yeah.
think a lot of folks who haven't, if they've gone through the full review process and they've never got through a minor review, they might be thinking they're going through this very long process when it's like they email Michael and then Michael emails one of us and gets it done that week.
Can that maybe be mentioned where you say you're talking about everything else, which is whether you have a contributing resource or not, whether it requires a building permit or not, it needs to go through review. That review may be a full review or a minor review or something.
Yeah, so I'm making a note here to go back to the language earlier in the document that I referenced and this language here, and make them say essentially the same thing. Repetition is probably valuable. And then B, break it down the way you described, Jan, whether it's building permit or not building permit, maybe major, maybe minor. If it's historic or not historic, you're still going to be required to do a review if it's the outside of the building. So I can clean that up and make it
Thank you.
consistent. Okay, thank you. 31.
Oh, I have another editorial from Terry. I think this is a matter of style, and you style folks can duke it out. I guess it's whether to have a comma. She recommends a comma after structures in that first sentence you've added under guidelines.
Oh, yeah, no, I agree with you. Okay,
And can I, on page 30, it's been a while, but on the last example, the boundary lot. So a lot that's outside the historic district but faces it is subject to historic review. I'm looking at that drawing.
yeah, I'm looking at the drawing too.
I mean, I know we've done it in certain situations with Rio Nuevo, but or overlays, but I'm trying to, I don't
I'm
recall a
not sure
situation
what
where
the-
somebody's been outside a historic district and just facing it. I didn't.
It's not intended, but I am looking for the text that explains it, that something that's not in the district. If it's not in the HPZ, then it's not in the HPZ.
Yeah, so and I just found that drawing maybe misleading or confusing because
think
I
that
didn't
was-
think they were subject to review either.
Yeah, cut and pasted from some other document.
I
I'll be
mean,
honest
it's
with
showing
you.
you're not in the district, but
Yeah,
yeah, okay.
I think the intent of that drawing, but even this isn't said on the page, is that the gray areas kind of show just, the development zone, the definition of a development zone. And I almost wonder if this is taken from another document that was created back in the day that was talking about what was meant by development zone.
Yeah, because I mean, if you're not in the district, then
Yeah.
presumably that's not relevant. So
Right.
anyway,
Jody had
Mhm.
printed some of these. It didn't have the non-historic district
Yeah,
one,
that
but it
was
had
a
like
new one
4
to
other
me.
pictures. Yeah.
yeah,
I don't know where she got them from though, but that is still seemingly a document that
yeah, I think it's
they
in the
use.
code somewhere. It's got like 4 examples like that. So it's different block configurations and
Right.
different
And it
locations.
may, by the way, be copied out of the code for all I know.
Yeah,
Just
yeah, for
the
sure.
context was lost.
Yeah,
Yeah, development zones are something people get tripped up on
Yeah.
really frequently
yeah,
and how to establish them. And I think it's because of the city's documents and the way they're described. It's not super clear sometimes.
mhm.
Right.
Especially, I mean, in West University, you guys have a lot of development along like alleys and, houses that face all different orientations. It's not like so cut and dry, like a gridded suburb or something.
Right. No, that's good.
But anyway, if this one doesn't help people's understanding, maybe it doesn't belong there. That's,
Yeah. As I said,
yeah, yeah.
our intent
no.
is to clean up all these drawings in here. So a lot of them are dated. Okay, I got it. Page 33.
Page 33, I'm sorry. Got it, okay.
So we clarified this paragraph number 6. We run into this a lot in West
Mhm.
University. We don't have many or almost most of our homes don't have, garages or any off-street parking, and people do want to build a little driveway or something to park their car. And the original text said that the parking can't be visible from the street at all, which we consider to be kind of overkill. So now we're just saying it shouldn't block the house.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Okay. 35.
Oh, 34, I think is where you get what you mentioned, the guest house.
Oh, yeah.
So,
You see it?
the first mention.
Oh, yeah,
of it,
yeah. It's the first paragraph.
I don't know if it comes up later, but that's where I noticed it. And the only other question I had about this whole section is, I know you guys don't want to repeat code, and I understand where you may be more, your direction may be more, restrictive than what the city code allows, but especially with all the recent changes to ADUs and secondary structures and everything. I just wondered if this should have another read for just some consistency, or if there are inconsistencies that you're aware of that and how they work together.
I looked at this and went back to the code, UDC 663D, for example, and that's still the text that's in the code.
Okay, and then, but then there's the changes that'll happen at the end of the year because of state direction.
Yeah.
So,
I
mean, you don't want to, yeah. I feel that the tension here, but just trying to be aware of how this might be applied then.
I think we're going to wind up. Yeah. So we have to have some discussion that, and it does come up when there are conversations around ADUs or any accessory buildings on what the requirements are. And it's helpful to have it in here. As you guys know, especially folks that don't go and hire an architect right off the bat, a lot of people don't know how to navigate the UDC, and some of these rules are important, and want to try and give people insight into them before they spend a lot of time on coming up with a design that isn't going to fly.
Sure.
I agree, Jan, that after the city updates its code for AD, if that'll just have to wind up being until we change this document again in some way, maybe a minor change, will just be case by case basis when we're referencing back to what the city's now allowing.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Sure. Where were we? 35. This is an area, this paragraph that we added, that we've struggled with some builders over time. And we've had examples where builders have used, have made changes to buildings that were built, 100 years ago, using materials, especially various kinds of cements, that wind up actually doing more damage chemically. So this is just a way of calling it out, and very often, in fact, we've got a case minor review that we're going to have to do with Michael here relatively shortly in our neighborhood, where somebody put modern day cement stucco over a 100-year-old brick and is causing a problem.
I know you mentioned this later, and to me, it's clearer where you start making examples and talking about it later on. Here, it almost seems too obscure for somebody who maybe isn't familiar with the methods and doesn't know what you're getting at. That was my first sense, and then when you had later references, it made more sense. It felt to me like there was more information that would help somebody that was trying to figure out what that meant.
Yeah, it's so hard to put in a complete treatise on what's compatible with what, you know?
Sure. Yeah,
This at least gets a discussion going.
yeah, and you do mention it later and
Yeah.
provides more context. So, and then Terry's only comment was that she thought, besides having a question about the wording, was that long-term she thought was hyphenated.
I don't know the answer to that, but I'll make a note.
And one option, I guess one suggestion she had was care should be taken when repairing original materials or significant long-term damage can result.
Oh, I see what you're saying. All right.
I think that was her attempt at being a little clearer.
Okay, I got it. Thank you.
Thanks.
38.
I'm so glad you guys are removing that line.
Yeah, good. We've had it in there all the time, and every time somebody does it, we say, man, no, and then we all decide, yeah, it's okay. Okay, 41. So back to the same conversation. And
Right.
I think, you know, Jan, the same comment applies to this is just cut and paste the same paragraph. So let me just make a note, 41. Same. Okay, 42.
I just had a question about that. Oh, Terry says, don't forget to renumber. That's part of your
Yeah, that
go
would be the
through, but
formatting. Yeah.
my question was, I understand why this was in here before. Is this just to be more responsive to ADA and changing just sensibilities? Is that why this is removed? It's more personal curiosity.
Yeah, and really at the end of the day, with some ADUs and you know, auxiliary structures, it just didn't make sense in a lot of cases to enforce that. It just didn't stylistically or anything make sense. And the ADA compatibility was definitely a part of it.
Got it. Okay, thanks.
Okay. 43. We did take out the comment that most roof work can be subject to a minor review because there have been exceptions to that. And it just became argumentative. People started having an expectation.
Oh, sure. It was.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? Say that again?
Joel, there have been the sentence as it was originally was in there implied that if it's roof work, it's minor review. And there's times when that's not necessarily true. And at the end of the day, it's up to Michael or it's up to, you know, the city to make a determination as to what is or isn't a minor review. And they've got their own set of criteria. And it really wasn't helping the paragraph anyway.
I had a comment on number 4. Just to clarify, I think these two got lumped. That may be more like any proposal for the introduction of new dormers or alteration of existing dormers versus lumping introduction or alteration. And
oh, you're just saying that, yeah, the wording is
yeah,
kind of
specifically.
Yeah, okay.
Another thing we run into a lot too, especially on the craftsman style, is making sure that when roof work happens and there's replacement of the roof decking on the eaves and the overhangs, that it's done with compatible material and not like OSB. I don't know if that's worth putting in, that like exposed eaves and everything should receive the same treatment as the original, but I just see it a lot.
Mhm.
I'm
I'm
reading this.
100% on board with that comment. That you're absolutely right. Was that Andrew who said that?
Mhm.
Yeah, 100% with you on that.
So you're talking about paragraph 5, Andrew?
Yeah, I think it could probably fit in there. I think generally you allude to it that like, you know, compatible materials should be used, but I think like addressing specifically the exposed overhangs and the wood decking on the eaves would be helpful because that's a prominent feature on a lot of these homes.
Okay. Paragraph 5. Now, I will say there are occasions in our neighborhood on the eaves. I mean, I'm on board with everything you're saying where there's because of the eave being kind of over a 0 lot line, not past the lot line, but adjacent to another building, that there's fireproofing materials that have to be used by code on the eaves.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, and you could, this is Joel, and you know, maybe we could carve out an, you know, an exception to the rule that based on that, you know, I mean, eh, but I'm with Andrew so much that I mean, when you come here and you see an, you know, oriented strand board holding up a roof, I mean, it just, to me, it's one of the most striking features of our neighborhood are those beautiful beaded boards that are hanging over, or you know, the boards that overlap, or the, you know, that kind of thing.
Okay.
I mean, I'm just expressing opinion. I live in the neighborhood, and it did, to me, nothing ruins a house more than seeing that oriented strand board hanging over on the beautiful old full scale 2x4, you know. I don't know.
I think
Anyway,
this could fit into like number 3 on page 41, where it says or I guess it was on that same page, just number
Number 3 on 43.
Yeah. So maybe after soffit details, like exposed overhangs. I don't know. I think it's kind of in there, but
Yeah, I think if we caught it in a board meeting, we would object to it, but I'm on board with writing it in here. Okay, got it.
I just had one other comment from Terry.
Yeah,
In number 5, clarify what they mean by the first deletion on item 5, and then consider addition they made in item 8. It's all about the metal roofing. And it's clear to me what you've done here in terms of the change in calling out metal roofing for guest houses and accessory structures. Just to be clear, metal roofing is not allowed in West University. Is that on the primary structure?
correct, except in the very, very few cases that we have in the neighborhood where the original roofing were these metal shingles that were done back in the day.
Right,
There's a
yeah,
few of those,
right.
but very few.
Okay.
We
okay.
do not allow standing metal seam or any of that, or corrugated or anything on the primary
Got it.
structure.
Okay.
Never
Well,
do.
Thanks.
Okay. 44, I think, is a continuation of roofs. All right. And if we do to 47. So we've had a lot of instances, and I'm sure you guys have seen too, where neighbors have tried to enclose their front porches. And significant number of cases where this has been done in our neighborhood without any, just done, without any historic review or anything. Well, we've kind of settled on, does this or does what you propose or not block the view of the house? So we do have neighbors who, for good reason, security reasons, in some areas, especially adjacent to some of our parks where there's a large homeless population, want to put very transparent but solid wrought iron fencing or something to keep people from coming up onto their front porches, which does happen. And so this is where, on a case-by-case basis, and usually for security reasons, we're like, yeah, okay, in this particular case, it makes sense. But, you know, the idea is don't make it such that from the street, you can't tell what that front looked like anymore.
That makes sense.
And certainly we don't allow people to just brick their front porches up or anything like that.
No, I think you did a good job with crafting that language. I do.
Thank you, Joel.
Because you know, I mean, especially as you get up for Tucson High School, et cetera, you know, it's tough. Yeah, so good.
Okay.
That's what tell me.
Okay.
Carrie had a question, I think it's been answered, about the removal of reference to iron balustrades. And then was that just meant to be 4 was your clarification, and basically you're not precluding those, but you're being more specific about what you're not allowing, is that?
Iron balustrades are not used. Yes, right.
Okay.
Yeah.
The only thing I would add under the Windows section, you might consider giving like the and/or option with double or single hung windows, because architecturally they're really the same, and the majority of replacement windows that I see are single hung because there's just not really the need for double hung with
Right.
air conditioned homes.
Where are you commenting? Not, this isn't in the porches section, is it?
It's in like number 1. It just references give window openings vertical emphasis. The most common windows historically have been a 1-to-1 wood frame, double hung windows recessed in wall surfaces. And then I know you're going to update the diagrams, but I think there was an older diagram. Yeah, I think you just scrolled past it, but there was an older diagram that says like, yes, wood double hung.
Have we gotten to that yet? I'm not following you.
I think we're on porches.
There wasn't any changes on that page. It was just like a page of pictures.
Which page are we talking about, folks?
Sorry, I think my PDF is like reformatted itself differently.
No worries. I don't think we've gotten to what you're talking about yet.
Okay, never mind. Sorry for that.
So let's keep going. We will get to it here shortly, I believe. If we go to 51. Now we're talking about doors. So we have had a few cases where someone has come back and shown to us, in fact, this has happened recently, even in like some of Joel's property, that there was at one point not a door where there is a door, there wasn't a door with the other way around. There was a door where there currently isn't one. So there had been on case-by-case basis agreement on altering a door or removing it with appropriate reference to what historically it was originally. And sometimes this happens where extensive work is being done on the interior of the house gets opened up, and it's suddenly obvious from the framing what was there originally isn't there now. Or an addition is removed, you know, a non-historic addition is removed, and it's suddenly obvious there was something there that wasn't there before, or vice versa. So that's kind of where that came in. Okay, 52. Okay, now we're on Windows. So Andrew, which paragraph were you?
It's paragraph 1. You may just include single hung next to double hung as an option. And then with the upgraded
Yeah.
with the upgraded diagram, I'd maybe clarify that too.
And I think you said this when you were talking earlier, and I'll just clarify or embellish what our practice has been as soon as I finish writing here. If someone's replacing a window, a double hung window, because it's, you know, damaged or beyond economic repair, and they want to put a single hung window in its place, we generally allow that, since from the street it looks like the same thing.
Yeah, that's typically what we have done as well. So
yeah. Okay. Our biggest problem with windows is material. You know, so many folk want to use variations of vinyl or plastic. And a lot of people want to use, you know, take out a double hung window and put in a slider. So that's what we get, I think, the most of.
I'm curious your or the board's take on the fiberglass windows. I know a lot of zones don't like them, but I think the reason is different than the vinyl windows, because vinyl can't be painted. But I'm just curious.
We've done that on a case-by-case basis. We've been very clear that vinyl is a no-no, but then we've allowed somebody who's got I'll use the word composite material, to make a case, and you know, we generally look at whether that material really is not just visually compatible with what we want, but also, you know, environmentally compatible. Will it withstand the environments that vinyl will not in our world? And you know, there's a lot of good new materials out there that I think are fine, and that you'd never be able to visually tell the difference, and maybe even last longer or be lower maintenance anyway than the all wood windows.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of really decent looking fiberglass windows on the market. So I was just curious if you guys are looking to.
So I generally ask that the person who's presenting that show us the cut sheet on the material on the window, and then we tend to kind of scrutinize a little bit, because I'm an engineer. There are fiberglasses that would be completely unacceptable, but there are, and this is why I use the word composite. Fiberglass is a composite. There are composites that are actually great. So I think we just look on a case by case.
Yeah, it might be helpful to add that then that, you know, composite windows may be approved on a case-by-case basis or something, just to not completely exclude it when people are.
Yeah, I was kind of
putting-
wondering about that too. And likewise, I mean, aluminum, I think even you guys, if it's not a period of significance and you're reviewing a structure that has aluminum windows, haven't you allowed aluminum windows as,
We have,
it just seems like it needs to acknowledge that there's
yeah,
not to open the door, so to speak, but to acknowledge that there may be versus, I mean, all of somebody's saying, well, you've said this, but then you made an exception here
yeah.
and just acknowledging that there will be cases where you do make exceptions.
And I think paragraph 3 is where that really winds up.
Except for you're really just talking about metal clad wood,
Yeah,
but it could, yeah,
yeah, that's
it
what I'm
could go in
thinking.
there, yeah.
Okay.
Rick, Richard, how are you doing?
I am coming up on my bingo time. Let's do page 55.
Oh, I see, yeah.
So what we were trying to accomplish in paragraph 2, I'm sorry.
Page 55, excuse me, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I've just got something stuck in my throat. So, we were trying to get a little bit more leniency on what we were allowing in the front yard in terms of fence height. And I'm reading this paragraph again and again. And I think we wanted to see things that were a little bit, if they were going to be 6 feet high, a little bit more transparent. But I have to be honest with you, this wording has kind of even got me a little, now that I'm looking at it again. Do other neighborhoods have allowances for fences in the front as high as 6 feet?
No, because it's not in the code.
No, the code does allow it.
It has to be transparent. You can do 4 feet block and then the rest
Right.
up to
But I'm,
6 feet.
yeah, Michael, I'm transparent, yes, at least 50% transparent, but I believe the code allows up to 6 feet, 50% transparent.
Well, I think in most historic districts, if that we've reviewed, if they're 6 feet, then they're usually like iron or something.
Correct.
So
Which
I
is-
mean,
correct.
it's probably more than 66 unless they've got big pillars or something. But
We-
I've never had anybody do math on it or,
Yeah, I mean, the iron is much, much more than 50% transparent.
right.
We used to be kind of harsh about not letting any fences be over 4 feet. But again, for security reasons,
Mhm.
we've kind of backed off on that and said, yeah, it can be 6 feet high. But it needs to not block the view of the house.
Yeah, I mean, it makes
So when you
sense. I
say,
just,
when
the
you say
60
6, Mr. Chair, when you say 6 feet, let's be clear. 4 feet is what is allowed in the front in all HPZs. You can go up to 6, but the part above 4 has to be clear, transparent.
Yes, and that's what this paragraph is allowing.
Okay.
Michael, you're saying more than 66%. Is that what you're saying?
We don't let
Well-
anything be more than 6 feet.
Right, but is Michael saying more than 66% see-through?
Oh, more than 66%. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Basically saying it's whatever, transparent or visible. No.
We're kind of all on board with it just being, wrought iron pickets, which are typically half-inch,
Uh-huh.
that are
Yeah, that's
spaced
fine.
3 or 4 inches apart.
Yeah.
That's fine.
I'm actually making a note to myself to revisit this. This still seems like an awkward wording, and
Mhm.
I'm responsible for it, so I
Yeah.
fix it.
And maybe it's not a big deal, but you've got 72 inches and the next sentence talks about 6 feet, so.
Yeah. Okay. So I just got the high sign from my wife that I need to
Huh.
be moving. So we don't really have that much more to do. What I think this conversation has been very helpful, though. And if we can, maybe it's up to you guys on the plans review subcommittee. We probably only have about 5 more pages to go,
Mhm.
6 more pages. We might be able, if I can get these comments incorporated, have one more meeting, and maybe even in that meeting, make a decision as to whether we're good to go back into formatting or not. I'll leave that to you.
I think that does sound possible, especially if you did come back then with the things we've already talked about. We'll check with Terry and see what she thinks, but seems like we're so close. The question I think we had was toward the end where you had not comments like signs will return for review, and then it was unclear toward the end how much you were actually ready to go, or
We actually completed this document, and somewhere along the line, I have lost configuration management control. So I have another document that has those pages finished.
oh, good.
But I couldn't find it in time for this meeting. But it is all done.
So we stopped at just the right place. That's perfect.
Well, that's another good point, because in
Yeah.
a couple more pages, it's going to start kind of rambling.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, the board, West University board, is completely finished, and I just need to provide to you the sheets that have the remaining comments in them, which I can do relatively easily. I just need a little bit more time to find them.
Right,
I've got all sorts of crap on Google OneDrive, and I had a hard time sorting what was what. But yeah, if we could do that, maybe next month, when you guys are available to do it, and just get this thing knocked out, and then we will take the responsibility for doing all the formatting cleanup, reorient this into portrait mode, get figures cleaned up, and all that sort of stuff.
Thank you. We'll talk to Terry about that. I know we've had pretty packed agendas, but it would be nice to get this wrapped up since you guys are so close. And thanks for making this a relatively easy review too.
Oh yeah, and like I said, thank you guys for your comments. They're very helpful.
Thanks.
Okay, I'm going to sign up. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on. I think most of the other items here, 5A, the public and institutional use and development zone discussion, we're going to move forward to a time when we have more people present. 6, a task force on inclusivity report recommendations. Unless Ricky wants to pipe up, I think this one we're going to pass on for later. Is that
Yeah, I have
okay,
no
Ricky?
updates.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. So that puts us at 7A, minor reviews. Michael?
Madam Chair, we did 3 minor reviews yesterday, so I'll leave that to Ricky to update us.
All three were signs that are going in on that new Broadway over by where Rocco's Pizza is at. So the front side has neon. They're trying to keep the historic neon in that area. And then the back side, the north side of the street, has unlit signs that are a little bit smaller. And so one was for the Broadway beer and wine, which is technically 2 signs. The beer and wine part will be neon. The Broadway part will not. The How Sweet It Was Vintage, which that whole sign will be neon. And then, well, no, there is some neon on that sign, but that sign they're pulling from their 4th Ave location. And then their back sign facing the north will not have anything on it. And then the last one, I'm trying to remember what the name of the last one was, Michael.
How sweet it was.
Well, there's the How Sweet It Was, the Broadway. Then there
And
was
then
another one.
the other one was Neptune something.
Oh yeah, at Neptune. Yeah, so that one is on the north side will be individually mounted letters unlit, and the front side will be neon. Each of the letters will have neon on them.
That little area is looking really cute, so it'll be exciting to see the signs too.
And there's still 2 more signs from that block that are going to come through for minor review sometime in January.
Thanks. Appeals, Michael, do we have any appeals, 7B?
We do not have any.
Okay, zoning violations, 7C.
No.
Okay. And any review process issues that anyone wants to talk about? Okay. Item 8, Michael, did we receive any public comments in advance of the
None
meeting?
was received, Madam Chair.
Okay. And then our upcoming meeting, 2 days from now.
In 2 days.
On the 12th. Do you have anything? We've got an agenda, which I'll admit I haven't looked at yet. Do you have anything to add or fill us in for that meeting?
No, they're just the 3 cases that you have is the Hawk and Oracle, the first case, and then we have the Sosa Cario house, which is going to be reviewed, and then we have Amory Park.
Okay.
Amory Park is coming to you as a courtesy. The other 2, you will need to take action on it.
Okay.
Those are the 3 that we have to end up for the end of the year.
What was the 3rd one? I missed the 3rd one. Can you repeat that? I missed the 3rd.
The Sosa Cario house.
Oh, then what could you name the other one?
The second one was, the other one is the Amory Park. Amory Park, and then the first one is the Hawk sign.
Got it. Okay.
Oh, on Oracle. Okay.
On Oracle.
Got it. Okay. And you said Armory Park's coming back again as a courtesy? It's not.
No, they're coming back as a courtesy. They went to Amory Park Historic Preservation Advisory Board, but they are coming to you as a courtesy.
Okay. That sounds good. So if there's nothing else.
I think I sent all the materials for those reviews to you.
Okay. Does it include the Armory Park minutes?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes, I think no, you will not get those minutes because John Burns is sitting on them. He has not yet sent them to me. So
okay. Okay. Looks like we're adjourned at 2:25.
Good job. Thank you very much.
Thank you
Thank
all.
you.
Thanks, Jen.
Take care. Bye-bye. See you in a few.
at least Ricky, we're able to get you all the time.